Hey there. Today we're going to practice an exercise of self-forgiveness. It's a very important thing to be able to forgive ourselves because the burden of guilt gets in the way of our correct functioning. It confuses things and doesn't allow us to think clearly. In order to be the best person we can, both for ourselves and others, we need to be free of inappropriate guilt. Guilt arises as an indicator that a lesson needs to be learnt. It's triggered when we do something which doesn't have the outcomes that it should have. Sometimes, however, guilt remains after we have learned the lessons, after we have made the changes. Then we have an unnecessary relic, a burden reminding us of something that we've already dealt with. Likewise, sometimes guilt arises by association or confusion. Sometimes we're just near something that happens which isn't very good, or sometimes we have got ourselves involved in something or taken part in something in some way when we didn't actually have control or we didn't have understanding. Perhaps we can think of situations when there isn't actually a lesson to be learnt, but the guilt is there asking us to do so. It's this kind of unneeded guilt that we're going to release ourselves from during this meditation. Interestingly enough, sometimes it's the letting go of the guilt and forgiving ourselves that allows us to actually fully learn the lesson. So, in a sense, the guilt will have served its purpose fully only when released. Before we start our meditation, you may wish to adopt a specific meditation posture. Perhaps you have practiced a seated posture which allows you to remain alert and focused, yet calm and tranquil during such exercises. Alternatively, you may wish to lie down in a position that will allow you to relax but also remain aware, and that you'll be comfortable in for quite some time. Adopt your chosen position and just take a few moments just to be there. You have probably noticed that as you remain just in one position, your body starts to naturally relax. Let this relaxation continue and amplify it. Just work with it. Now, you may have also noticed that your breathing has started to slow down. Your breaths are deeper, they're longer, it's all more relaxed. This comes naturally with the relaxation of your body. Be aware of this and work with it. Really let each one of those breaths calm you. Perhaps you can feel as if your body is releasing tension and your breath, as you breathe out to every breath, it's letting go. This process of self-forgiveness has almost started on its own. And with that sense that this process is already happening naturally, and as your body starts to continue that journey into calm relaxation, let your mind become focused on a vow, on a strong sense of resolve. This meditation is going to allow you to forgive yourself completely. You are going to practice total self-forgiveness. Now, as we start this process, as we start to go through different areas whereby it's good to let that guilt go, your mind may bring to focus certain specifics. If this happens, if an event or a memory flashes into mind, this is an opportunity to invite in forgiveness. Is to let that forgiveness come in and release any feelings about this. Now, I'd like you to make this process natural. So the aim is to just let your mind rest on my suggestions and know that deep inside your consciousness, this message is going in. The forgiveness is happening. If you find an example appears at the time, that's wonderful. That helps amplify the process. If you simply want to listen along, that's good as well. Now, it may be that sometimes examples appear out of timing with what I'm talking about. That's fine. It's just a sign that your deep mind is helping you and has been working on everything we're focusing on. So we're going to start our self-forgiveness by inviting that sense of resolve in on the most basic level. I'd like you to think back to mistakes which were just thoughtless. The mistakes everyone makes. Mistakes that happen just as part of being here and alive. Perhaps you can remember a time when you knocked something over. Perhaps you can remember a time when you stood on something or did something clumsy. Maybe you mixed objects up. Maybe you hurt someone by misestimating your strength or by bad coordination. Maybe you hurt yourself, or maybe you just didn't pay attention and the results weren't good. This kind of clumsy, thoughtless mistake that can have small or significant consequences in life. But we learn from the significance of small things, and we do our best to be aware in every moment and careful and motivated by good intentions. But we are also compassionate, knowing that all living beings must be subject to this. From the plant growing in the wrong direction to the animal badly coordinating and tripping up. Forgive yourself for any simple mistakes, any misestimations, anytime embarrassing or hurtful consequences have come from you. Just making that clumsy misjudgment or thoughtless action. Forgive yourself for the times when you could have avoided these things, when you didn't use your awareness to its full potential, or the gift of your body in the way that would be responsible. And forgive yourself for times when perhaps you didn't embrace any lessons or training that could have avoided these in the future, when you haven't used yourself to the full potential. It's time to let go of any guilt or embarrassment or sadness that could be left even subtly, maybe even from childhood. Perhaps in this category, we could also include times when we weren't in control. And because we were drunk or very tired or just overexcited, we made silly mistakes. As you breathe out, just let them go. You keep the lessons, but it's time to let that guilt go. Forgive yourself. And now I'd like you to move your focus to a different area. I'd like you to think in terms of ideas, goals, and dreams. Perhaps we can think of times when you gave someone the impression that something was going to happen that didn't. Perhaps we can think of a time when you promised something that you didn't intend to make happen or couldn't really make happen. Were there times ever in the past when you created a vision of the future, a dream, an idea that perhaps you shouldn't have? It could be that you didn't have the skills to do things in legitimate ways. It could be that you were thoughtless in what you were saying. It could be that you didn't know the other person was going to take things as seriously or as importantly as they did. Maybe you were just unskillful and you were talking of possibilities and not realities. Any time that you have lied, any time that you have led someone on, deceived someone, it's time to truly forgive yourself. Just breathe that out. Just let any of the guilt from the past left associated with this just disappear. Now, it could be that the ideas, the plans, the dreams that were created for yourself. Maybe you built something up. Maybe you disappointed yourself. Maybe you worked yourself into a position where you really believed something and it wasn't true. Did you create a vision of someone that wasn't correct? Did you put your faith in the wrong area? Were you deceived by others and you feel that you shouldn't have allowed that to happen? Did you buy into a dream that was an illusion and turned out to be a nightmare? Let that go. Forgive yourself. You're keeping the lessons, you're letting go of the guilt. Truth will protect you in the future. Truth will empower you in the present. But let's keep on that theme of ideas, dreams, and goals. Perhaps there's been times in the past that you didn't embrace a dream, that you didn't think big enough, that you didn't allow yourself to follow your heart or your calling. Did you waste time? Did you miss an opportunity? Was there a teacher there that you didn't embrace or a course that you didn't finish? Allow yourself forgiveness. Breathe it all out. Know that this exercise is part of the lesson. And move your focus to our next area of contemplation. Let's think about the use of words. Now, just as we contemplated the idea of creating an illusion, let us think about times when we used lying or when we used words which ended up in a negative outcome. Perhaps we said terrible things which have left a strong imprint. Perhaps we said things which were disloyal, Perhaps we used words to manipulate, saying that we felt things we didn't feel. Maybe we were just unskillful in our words. Breathe out. Forgive yourself for words which caused pain or caused bad outcomes. Forgive yourself. And maybe the words we used hurt us. Could it be that sometimes we belittled ourselves or it didn't do ourselves the kind of honours that we were due? Maybe we talked ourselves out of situations of empowerment and blessing. Perhaps we just didn't embrace words in certain circumstances. We didn't learn to use them. We didn't utilize those gifts. Perhaps there are times when you remained silent and you should have spoken. Perhaps there were times when your words could have resolved a circumstance or changed a circumstance to good. Maybe your testimony or your witness was needed and you didn't give it. Breathe all that out. Invite in forgiveness. And by letting go of all this, you allow your eloquence, you allow your noble speech to come forth, you allow words to be heard that need to be heard, and silence to be when silence is appropriate. Forgive yourself so that your words can echo in the world as goodness. Now let's move from words to the mind, to intellect, to learning. Maybe there are times where you used your mind to outthink someone, or you used your intelligence to belittle someone, or to take advantage of a situation, or to put together a plan that wasn't good. Maybe you used your understanding and you abused it. Perhaps there's another circumstance where someone of perceived superior intellect, they used this as a means to dominate you or misdirect you. And you weren't able to, or didn't choose to, keep control or to change their plan or to resist. Maybe there are just situations where you felt intimidated by learning, or when you didn't embrace learning. Forgive yourself for any time that you have misused your mind or allowed your mind to be misused. Forgive yourself for any hurt you caused for others or to yourself with this, with poor thinking, with inability to utilize your natural talents. If there are any courses or training lessons that you didn't embrace, you can embrace them by forgiving yourself so that you can learn in the future. Declutter your mind and let it think freely with total forgiveness over this area. And now move your mind to love. I'd like you to think of times when love was involved and it didn't work out. It could be that when you first experienced love, or sometimes when you experienced love later on, it was so strong. It was so strong that it kind of bashed your personality out of shape a bit. You did strange things, you did thoughtless things, you said things or got involved in things you shouldn't have. Maybe you loved the wrong person, maybe you loved the right person in the wrong way. Maybe you needed love and you allowed that to control you. Did you misuse love to control someone else? Let's be compassionate and understand how hard it can be to control this really important emotion. But let's learn the lessons and be kind and skillful in the future. Forgive yourself for the wrong relationships or badly done relationships. Forgive yourself for not embracing the right ones. Forgive yourself if you allowed yourself to be manipulated or things just didn't work out in that area. And let this cover all areas of love, not just romantic love. Maybe you didn't have the right form of love towards a friend, a member of the family, a pet. Maybe you feel you didn't do right by someone. Perhaps this guilt getting in the way of you fully embracing love or benefiting from love now. Embrace true, genuine love by getting rid of guilt associated with that feeling. Breathe out the guilt, keep the lessons. And now moving up. I want you to think about a very interesting area now. I want you to think about your own brightness, your own creativity, your own talents. Were there times where you outshone others and you shouldn't have? Were there times where you didn't shine and you could have? Are there opportunities for creative expression to show who you are? Maybe to express your talents or to really gain benefit in the world that you didn't utilize. Embrace your brightness, your artisticness, your creativity by letting go of any guilt associated with it. You are allowed to be wonderful. Brightness and success for you doesn't mean darkness and failure for anyone else. You can be as good as you were born to be. Perhaps around you in the past there have been confused, broken people who have tried to disempower this because it made them feel bad. Did you allow this? Did it affect you? Forgive yourself. You are allowed to be superb. Now turn this around a bit for a moment. Has there been a time when someone with great talents has overshadowed you? Has there been a time when someone so bright and so light has made you feel bad? Has this been a circumstance where something has been misused? Someone used their talents as an excuse for poor acts, and they pulled you along with the game. They put you in a situation or made you do things you didn't want to do, or just plain made you feel bad. Forgive yourself. Allow yourself the strength to be able to be around empowered, brilliant people, but to be discerning as to who they are. Allow yourself to be amplified and inspired by genuine greatness, and to invite that into your life. Breathe out any negative emotions associated with this and embrace your light and the light of others. Now move your attention now to the feelings which can be destructive, those of anger, those of jealousy or resentment. Other times where you used your anger, your aggression, your viciousness against others. Maybe you were violent. Maybe you were violent in the mind or in speech or in action. Did you wage war when war wasn't needed? Perhaps you thought you might be attacked, so a preemptive attack would be useful. Perhaps you genuinely were provoked, but your response was disproportionate. Maybe you were confused about the situation. Perhaps you went along with something that involved a perceived battle, a battle that wasn't needed. Let go of all the anger, jealousy, guilt, resentment, envy, any of these emotions that could be trapped in by the guilt associated with them. Breathe it out. Know that by letting go of this, you can genuinely be able to defend yourself with a clear vision against any real danger, with a proportionate response. Forgive yourself any times you didn't defend yourself or didn't defend those you care about or needed defending. Maybe there was a circumstance where you couldn't do it. Maybe there's a circumstance where you wouldn't do it. Let go of the guilt which has genuinely been brought around by a lesson that was needed to be learnt, but also let go of any of the guilt by association. There's lots of things you can't fight against in reality. Lots of things happen that aren't to do with you or preventable by you. Free yourself from that burden. Embrace authentic justice, balanced self-defense. Know that as we continue through this process, sometimes we are setting a resolve, and this resolution will only fully express itself in time. But we have flipped the switch. We've planted a seed of forgiveness, which will blossom. Plant that seed now. And now move your mind to the goodness of the world, to the blessings of the material world, and to all that is around you. Were there any times when objects, when wealth, when food, when status, when any of the things that people strive for in the world caused you to act in a way which isn't who you are? Did you ever want something too much? Did anyone ever try to get something from you and your response was too much? Did you associate some objects or some position with an inequality you really wanted and it got a bit confused? Did you take actions which weren't good in order to take a shortcut towards being someone or getting something? Did you do things that you're not proud of for wealth? Forgive yourself. Breathe out any sense of guilt so that confused, grasping greed that could be caught up in it disappears too, so that you can value things genuinely as a blessing, but in balance. Breathe out any sense of misunderstanding whereby the objects have an association, or the clothes or the food or the place has an association with qualities you want. Know that you are not dependent on anything external for who you are. Was there a circumstance when wealth was used or position was used? Did someone once have authority? Maybe they were in a position of authority in society. Maybe they had money or they had respect and they misused that, and you would rather have not got involved in what happened next. Maybe you misused your wealth or your money. But let's let go of any guilt to do with this misuse of position, of authority, of wealth, of power. And let's make this total so that we can embrace responsibility that comes with success or comes with position. And we can be discerning, making sure we only allow those who know how to wield their position to be trusted in our life. And now let's do the same, but let's let go of any resentment or guilt or regret when we didn't embrace an opportunity to have position. Maybe there was a legitimate, a positive way to make money. Maybe there was a legitimate, positive way to gain authority, to gain objects, things that would have been a blessing to you and your family, would have been very good and allowed you to help the world, but you just couldn't take that opportunity. you weren't ready, or you didn't understand it, or there was something holding you back. Well, don't let something hold you back anymore. Breathe out any guilt, breathe out any resentment, any regrets, so that your hands are empty, so that you can fully grasp the next opportunity. Now, well done. We've gone on a very powerful journey, and it's not much further now. Now we're just going to go deep into the kind of guilt that needs to be released. The kind of guilt that underpins a lot of the rest, can make confused guilt or unneeded guilt a bit sticky. We're going to start focusing first and foremost on our parents. Perhaps you've got some guilt left from when you were a child. Maybe someone who looked after you was concerned you didn't understand something you'd done wrong. Maybe somebody made a lesson too easy to remember. Perhaps someone cared for you and you didn't appreciate it. And maybe something bad happened and it wasn't anything to do with you, but you felt bad just because you were there. I'd like you to think about your mother, your father, perhaps other figures who may have brought you up, people you were really close to. And maybe you can think about other members of the family who had a guiding role. Forgive yourself for your mistakes. Forgive yourself for any of the mistakes of childhood. Forgive yourself for any of the circumstances that you found yourself in. Let go of those funny echoes from the past that may still be in there somewhere, connecting to and having resonance with unrelated things from the present. It's time to just let go of them. The lessons have been learned. That's good. Now we're going to go one step further. I'd like you to imagine any of the things that you might have done or may have not done, which are very important to your spirituality, to your role in the world. Perhaps there are some things that have happened or have done that you do not think should happen in someone's life. They just shouldn't happen. Perhaps there are things that you feel are against the laws of being a person. Do you feel you've wronged some higher power? Do you feel some higher power offered you some kind of blessing, you didn't embrace it? Do you feel that maybe you were influenced by some idea of a higher power and that's put you off track? Maybe you need to forgive yourself for misunderstandings or for confusions. Maybe you feel you have genuinely committed some sin or something that has left a mark upon you. Let go of any of these ideas. Let go of any guilt. Let go. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself so you can invite in a higher forgiveness. Forgive yourself so that your higher self, your better awareness can come in undisturbed and undisrupted by any confusion, any misunderstanding, or any resentment or bad feelings. Now we're here. I want you to use this kind of forgiveness, this total forgiveness of the self, as a doorway to seal in, to amplify, to exemplify pure forgiveness. The highest, most perfect part of you, that spark of pure awareness, that spark of pure goodness, that higher self is going to forgive everything. Everything from the most basic limitations of being in a body, the basic limitations and frustrations of having a limited mind, or having emotions that can pull you in any direction. You're going to forgive it all. Imagine this forgiveness like a flood of pure white brilliance over the whole of your body. Completely comprehensive. Forgiving every single time you did something that you rather you hadn't, or when you did something and the outcomes were not what you wanted. Forgiving every single shortcoming or failure, any missed opportunity, any time you got pulled into something or got taken advantage of. Forgive it all. And if you listen carefully, in this lovely feeling of forgiveness, in this feeling throughout your body, your mind, your body, this release, just feel how relaxed your whole being is now that this is all gone. It's going to allow you to function from this higher part of yourself, freeing you to embrace goodness and to express goodness on all levels for yourself and for everyone else. Now move your mind back to your breathing. What a wonderful, relaxed body. Take some deep breaths. You probably noticed your breathing is starting to go back to its normal pace. This is because you know the process has been set. The vow you took at the beginning has been achieved. Start to move your body a little bit now. That's good. And move from your meditation position, sitting up or moving your legs out. Now, this beautiful forgiveness meditation that brings around forgiveness of the self, this is one that you can perform again if you should so wish it. It's a lovely blessing and very effective. Over the next few days, having performed this, you might find that sometimes the odd event just percolates up, appears in your mind. Remember to invite in forgiveness when this happens, and be reassured this is part of the process. My name's Martin Folks, and I hope that this guided forgiveness of the self meditation has been of benefit to all who want to be able to function freely, embrace the lessons they have learnt in life, and to express their goodness in the world powerfully and majestically. Until next time, let's let every word, thought, and action count.